and then we'll be followed by Beck and Ruth, who will bring us through the meat function. And then we'll finish off with Julieta helping us integrate our new learning. So to begin, please lie down on your back. Taking a moment to allow your body to settle on the floor. How are you breathing? Which parts of you are in contact with the floor? Where do you feel your weight sinking more deeply into the floor? And if you were lying on damp sand, what imprints did you leave? What shape would be left by your heels, left and right? Your left calf, your right calf, your left thigh, right thigh, and now bringing your attention to the front of your body. Where do you find your attention being drawn to first? What do you sense throughout your chest? Your arms? How are your hands like? How far apart are your feet from each other? And in which direction are your feet facing? Please bring your attention to your left knee. What is your sense of your left knee? And when I first said left knee, did your attention go towards a point or an area? What size area? Was it the front or the back of your knee? Or the sides? Or the side? So thinking now of the front of your knee, what can you sense? Where does it start? And now the back of your left knee. What is your sense here? Can you sense this outline? you were to trace a finger around the whole of your left hand, where would you feel your finger running along? Front of you, side, back. How about within the number? Sense that makes up the left hand. Do you have any sense of the textures, shapes, parts, surfaces that make up the left hand? Imagine you are wrapping both of your hands around your left hand, feeling one hand cupping the top and the other the back, holding. What would your knee feel like now? Does this give you a different sense of the textures, surfaces, parts? And as you imagine holding it, does it feel people? Feel solid? Feel heavy? Light? Powerful? Stable? Or unstable? Free? What is your relationship to your life? Do you carry any stories that was part of your body? Please roll over to your side. Find a comfortable way to sit with your left leg extended. And I'd like to invite you to explore your left knee using touch. So if you can imagine you have never seen a knee before, and you're going to explore this as a fascinating foreign subject you've never seen. So where do you begin your exercise? Which part do you do? Do you find the food, surfaces? How would you describe these surfaces? Do you find any hard parts? Any soft parts? Any bits feel more fixed, more movable? What are the sensations on the surface of the skin? Can you sense inside? Release the shape of your head. Now please bend your left knee. So you're exploring this position. How does having your knee bent change what you're observing? Is that like facing? Okay. Which part's too hard? So, instead of counting. And cupping one hand over your knee and slowly straightening it. Can you sense your hand? Like play with your two hands. And with your left knee in the air, raise your left foot for a circle. Can you say tapping it part of the breath? Please come to standing. And feel how your weight is shifting to your feet. And now bring your weight more over to your left foot. And then to your left hand. Now take your feet a little further apart and bend both knees. See what you can do both knees. Keep your weight on your left. Okay. And then come to standing on your right leg. And take your left foot to the side of the foot. And swing your lower left leg. You might like to play with raising your arms. And now come onto the floor and stand in the hip. And bring your weights a little forward. Okay. So if we're looking just firstly, so I'm really just going to go through the structure, weaving into the function, and we're just going to go through much more of the function. So the surfaces really are moving out in your joint are the femur, the tibial parts of the hip I'll get to, and the patella. So poor old figure on the side here, although possibly when you are sensing and feeling, and often, when I sort of start fiddling with my knee, I end up fiddling with my figure, which has nothing to do with the articulating surfaces of the knee. For me, that was like a bit of a highlight. So what is actually moving and articulating, when you're moving your knee, the articulation is happening between the femoral condyles, so the smooth surfaces, which have special hyaline cartilage, which is really slippery. So if you think about, if you're got a fresh chicken or something, and you break those joints, and you have it, and you think about how smooth and slippery those surfaces are. So it's the condyles, it's the slippery surfaces of the hip, and then also with the tibia that are articulated. And then there's also, which you can't really pick up, but the surface on the front of the femur, just behind here, there's like a little groove in here where the patella has a opportunity to move. So it's not articulating like a hinge, but it's just running up and down the groove. Yeah, it is. It's almost like there's a hinge going on, and the patella is sort of sliding up and down. Patella is the femoral fossa, the groove in here. He does have a patella, but it's confused. He has a confused patella. Yeah. And the knee joint is the largest synovial joint, and I thought it just might be interesting to have a quick look. Generally, what a synovial joint encompasses, and so in this picture this is just a generic look at what's involved in a synovial joint. So in the middle is this synovial fluid, which which acts a bit like a lubricant, I guess. Novice. There we go. In the center, so if you're thinking about it, the synovial fluid is almost like encapsulated. And then there's a membrane, basically holds the fluid in, and it's encapsulated on the outside by this sort of fibrous cover, which is not a very good picture, but essentially the outside fibrous cover
comes in and the ligaments all sit around it, so it's like this nice encapsulated capsule. And then particularly in the knee joint, so there's the synovial fluid, there's the outside, and then the synovial membrane, which encapsulates the fluid, creates little folds where the bursas are. So the bursas are little sort of pockets between either the bone and the tendon that act as like little shock absorbers for the knee. So, but it's actually the synovial membrane that folds around those little pockets that cause them to create those little bursas. They're like a bubble that's encased in the membrane. Yeah. So if you think about fluid as just kind of fluid, you can use it anytime. and then so if you think about a whole membrane that's going around, and then it has these folds that almost fold around the bursa. Does that make sense? Still no? Hang on, let's go back. Fluid. It's fluid. It's like a little fluidy sack. So you can see here that they're pointing the little green bits in the knee. So I have bursitis in my knee, so I'm very familiar with my bursa. Because the front of my knee, you can almost see there's like this little squishy pocket. So there's one on that is subcutaneous outside of it, and there's also one that's just below on what is your patellar ligament or tendon, depending on who you are and what you want to call it. And then there's one behind there. So if you think about the front of your knee and how much movement there is in just patella, there's a lot of friction. So that just causes little pockets to just reduce the amount of friction between the structures on either side, the tendon and the bone, and the ligament, whatever. Please ask me. Great. And so then looking at the other structures that are supporting the movement of your knee, on what is called the tibial plateau, which is literally just this surface here of your tibia. So on either side of the condyles, medial and lateral condyle, which articulate, so they're moving, but on top of those are these on this side, which are they're fibrous structures. So they're tough and flexible. So they're also like cushioning absorbers for your knee. You can imagine if there wasn't anything in there and you just had bone on bone, which people who end up with tears or something, how they are just the medial condyle, so the one on the inside, is really the structure and the attachment. There's quite a few attachments. There's a ligament attached to the front, and it's attached to what's called the sort of intercondylar fossa, so it's like in the middle, and to the outside, the ligament on the outside. So it's really, it doesn't move. It has very little movement, whereas the lateral one can move quite a bit. And interestingly, that it's often the medial ligament, the medial menisci, because it doesn't have that kind of movement, that the lateral one is often the one that gets torn or moved or shifted or whatever, because it's so big. Whereas the other one has a little bit more rotation. Yeah. 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 And you think about the impact that goes to your knee, pretty well designed, I reckon. Till something goes wrong. Yeah. And so then supporting all of those, so externally support and internally, there's a whole lot of ligaments. There's gazillions of ligaments, but there are a few that are crucial to their stability. And there are collateral ligaments, which are medial and lateral. So there's a lateral one that sort of attaches on the epicondyle. So these are the condyles here, epi just above, and then comes down onto the epidura. So there's a ligament that attaches here, and then there's a medial collateral ligament that attaches from the top of the femur onto the tibia, and so they're there just to stop medial lateral in the frame. And then we have your anterior and posterior cruciate movements, which quite a few you may well be intimately associated with. And cruciate stems from the word crux in Latin, meaning cross. So they cross over internally in your knee, and they both sort of start in the attachment canal here, and posteriorly in the little gap in the femur back here, and then the anterior one comes forward and attaches anteriorly in this little gap in the tibia. The posterior one attaches posteriorly in the same spot. The gap between those condyles, so it's not attaching on the slippery surface, it's in the middle. And as you would expect, so the anterior one is preventing your tibia from slipping forward, and the posterior one is preventing your knee from slipping backwards. And then there's the dog. So yeah, so you also have, so you have your patellar ligament, which is also referred to as the patellar tendon. So the muscles of your quad come down, and the tendons all kind of almost. There's a ligament that runs down here, and it basically like the ligament, the patellar ligament that attaches to this little knobbly bit, which you can feel on your own knee, and prevents your patella from basically slipping before it gets into the groove. Got a bit more stability. Or maybe it's almost like it's when you know if you're in this position, you have to get to a certain point in flexion before it actually slides into the groove. So at the initial movement, it may be kind of, flipping out a little bit. So when it kind of gets straight, there might be a little bit of a flick in. I don't know. This is just another view of those ligaments. So these ones, the collateral ligaments, the ones on the side, and then you're looking at the cruciate, and that's nicely folded down. You wouldn't want it to be like that. Just a different view, so you can. And that's you.
All right, so I guess from this anatomy, you can see how it begins to shape what the joint might actually do and how it might function. So the articulating surfaces, I guess, in reference to a hinge joint, anyway, when I first started learning about anatomy, that it was quite misleading. And to me, myself, it suggested that it was just a bend and a straight act. But in actual fact, they do reference this as the larger synovial joint, and that's because of the articulating surfaces. So Beck went in and addressed the fact that there's this nice smooth cartilage which cups all the surfaces which move together. And those surfaces are all involved in the movement of the. So when you go through your own, maybe in the next ATM, you can bring that in and consider the fact that it's not just a small little joint, that in fact it involves this whole gliding, rolling and sliding action in order to allow for that bending motion to happen and extend. So it's really not just on one point of motion, a bend and a straighten. It's instead a whole action, out straight, then helps get back in. And so that's what you can start to identify having a look at the skeleton and how the muscles around the joint help to do. So, yes. Is that better? Is that better? Gotcha. Okay. Any questions about that one so far? So then that comes on having a look at the muscles around the knee joint. And you've got muscles, and you can actually feel it on yourself now and come back to the beautiful guided summary that, that Angela introduced us to at the start. And you can feel at the front of your leg that there's this big bulky muscle. And I think that these muscles are some of the most familiar muscles to us. I think, you know, if you have of walking or you've injured yourself before, you know, oh gosh, my hamstrings or my quad. You know? So at the front, you've got the muscles which are called the quadriceps muscle. And these are the ones that help to extend the knee joint itself. And that they are actually this whole big bulky area at the front of your thigh here. And quads, you can simply look at four. So there's four muscles which help to make up that big muscle group. And they're orientated slightly differently so that your knee joint, bless it, can be beautifully protected. Should you decide to start bending and straightening in different directions, you'll start to bias this muscle to work in different and very interesting ways. So the inside part of the muscle here, for those that are interested in knowing about the anatomy of the names, is vastus medialis. So you can feel that yourself and reference the picture in front, but that's just on the medial border, just here of your thigh. You can feel that. So that might have been some of that soft texture that perhaps you were identifying with as you were guided through the summary at the start. If we come to the other side, so the outside bit at the front, so not underneath at the back yet, but at the front of your thigh, you'll feel this muscle, and that's called the vastus lateralis. And then in the middle of that, I love Latin, it's vastus intermedius. Where is it on that one? It's not a good diagram because it sits underneath actually. So vastus medialis, and that's quite a deep muscle that helps to sort of interconnect all the other three muscles I've spoken about so far. And those muscles start here in the actual thigh itself. And they run down and connect to this patella that you mentioned before coming down, running over the patella and connecting it to the tibia at the front. So by encompassing that patella, they move the patella upward as you begin to straighten your knee. So you can expect that. That one, which I'll come to in a minute. The doesn't, it connects into a common tendon. Yes, and that's why you'll hear people reference what would normally be called a ligament in other joints. This here is called a tendon, the patella tendon. So you know when the doctor does the reflex tendon test, that's where they do it, and it's testing the quadriceps or patella tendon. It's few functions. Interesting. I've actually had a patient that didn't have a patella, and so he could tell you a very interesting story. He experienced, for him, more friction, more pain inside of his knee joint. Obviously, it wasn't the only structure that was sort of not there though, so it was hard to isolate. But it also it helps with the traction and the direction of the muscle, basically. I think you could put it like that. But it's a protection. It's like a gliding structure over the top, which if it wasn't there protecting the joint, then for me, when I look at it, I think that you would be interfering with the dynamics that are happening underneath those structures that Beck has gone through. Start interfering with that. That's how I look at that very simply. There's one other muscle that's been left out of the quadriceps. It's the fourth muscle, or first, depending on where you want to place it in the scheme of things. And that's this long muscle the rectus femoris. Oh, right. Yep, sorry, biceps femoris, I'm thinking rectus. So biceps, rectus femoris, oh my God. I didn't have my second coffee during the break, guys. You have to excuse me. Rectus femoris. And it comes up and it's actually crossing two joints. So not just your knee joint, but your hip joint as well. So it has a very weak action on helping to bend the hip. And I think that's a nice little, or a very simple way of drawing in the idea that when you have a look at a joint, you can't really look at it in isolation. And if you think about function, you have to start connecting together all the little dots in the body. So I thought that was a nice way of tying that back in. Because of the leg, you've got your hamstring muscles, so you can start to bring your attention to that if you want to explore. This has really got three main muscles that help to bring the hamstring group together, and they are the ones that help to draw the knee in. On the inside, now I personally have a block towards some of these muscles because they were impacted when I had surgery, which I can share with you. On the inside here at the back, you'll feel this bulky bit, it's very membranous, and that's called the semimembranosus muscle. You can feel that as you start to draw in. It's got a much smaller tendon. Now I find this interesting to play at the back of my leg, and you can start to differentiate between three tendons that are there. So the first tendon that you might feel on the very inside bit is the membranosus bit, and it's smaller, and you've got muscle that sits up more towards the knee joint. Then if you come inside towards the middle, you've got semitendinosus, and I am not friends with this muscle. This is tendinosus, so it's got quite a long tendon to it. And this is what they will commonly take first when they do an ACL reconstruction. So for me, they have taken a slice off of that. They've bundled it all together in this very fancy little knot, and they've used that to replace my ACL joint inside my knee. And that wasn't quite enough. So, which they did tell me was an option. And so they've actually taken some of my semimembranosus as well. So you can think for me, for so long, that movement of bending my knee in, that whole interaction, honestly, I couldn't lift for so long, for like I'm 12 months now after my surgery, and I can lift this knee all the way up towards my bottom. This knee here, if I turn around, I can get to there, and I start cramping. So even though it's just a tendon which has been impacted, the consequence that that's had on the whole sequencing of my muscles in my knee joint. Then on the very outside, oh, where are we up to? Bicep. Yeah, sorry, you go. Sorry, what was that? Oh, yes, for sure. And this is brilliant here. This is a brilliant. Yeah, I think that comes down to this idea, the hamstrings in particular have such a role, three muscles, have such in contributing to, sorry, the shuffling, the rotation that happens at the knee. So not only is our joint capable, you know, Beck sort of introduced this idea and it was touched on in terms of the rotation, but our knee has this component to it of rotating inward and outward. Essential, that movement is essential for us in order to be able to glide and slide our knee into full extension. Without it, we can't achieve full extension. And then that sequencing of movements, the letting go, needs a rotation component to it to be able to happen as well. And so for me, how I've seen it is that I've really missed that rotation aspect in my joint. And I think that's created a lot of stiffness within my joint in itself, which I've been working on personally. Yeah, did that answer your question? Yeah, it's quite an interesting process, I think, when you go through an injury and start, you need to let it go a lot as well, but it's quite interesting to start, playing with it and comparing your left and your right and going, wow, you know, it's not such a simple joint after all. You know, there are connections up to the hip, depending on if it's closed chain, open chain, you know. And then there's connections down to, you know, different connections down through the belt. which then makes you consider when you're looking at the functioning of the knee joint, thinking about the fact that not only do you need these dynamic muscles working, but you need stabilization as well. So you've got, you know, your gastrocs and your calf muscle at the back, and without them, I couldn't stand up against gravity. I'd fall down, so my knee wouldn't have a holding point to be able to work from. The same for the muscles that go down the side of the leg. And, you know, a little bit of sartorius and gracilis, the adductor muscles, they all sort of come in and have this sort of complex series of actions that help to create what we look at as just such a simple movement. Yeah. So you need the stability, you need the ability to, you know, move in and out dynamically. Yeah. So any other questions about that? Go for it. The crepitus sensation, like, yes, yep. I think you're getting a microphone. Okay, so you were just asking about the sound inside the knee joint, and really, I would be hesitant to say that it's one structure. My knee cracks a lot at the moment. Yeah, the little crepitus. Often you'll hear that when someone has like injured their meniscus. So it's like a rubbing that's happening. Yeah, for me, I haven't hurt my meniscus, but I still get this crepitus sensation as my muscles aren't able to absorb because they're not working so well. If you strain me through my range, I will have the same crepitus feeling because the synovial fluid isn't, you know, as operational as what it should be. It's stiff, and it's my structures just starting to let go, basically, or complain about the strain because they've got so much more force that they're having to absorb. I mean, if anyone else wants to contribute to that, feel free. All right, any other? It depends because you can have a partial replacement or a full replacement. Essentially, the whole knee joint that Beck has spoken about is replaced. So it's yeah, pardon? Yeah. Yeah, no, the rod that can actually be, depending on the surgeon, the type of surgery they decide, like there's so many variables, but yes, they can actually drill a hole very much like you saw with the hip, and they'll go right, like quite a distance down into the tibia to stabilize. They can. Yeah. I've got a patient that has had to have that done, yes. So. Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't actually looked at that. I haven't heard them talk about that. Pardon? They moved to the side. They liked it. Yeah, I remember watching. But yeah, and they just had little pliers and they pulled it open. Yes, yeah. That what you saw? Yeah. The hip was the most gruesome surgery I've ever seen. But yes, in simple words. In simple words, yes, they do. Yeah. They're like carpenters. Yes, and the surface, the articulating surface. A new smooth surface. Yeah. Back onto, so they'll try and preserve the exterior bony surface if they can. That's what I've seen them do anyway. And they'll essentially attach that to those plates. Yeah. Can I be honest, like, if you actually want a very personal intake about this knee, I don't know why I nominated myself to do it, but I'm being really honest. I had such a block about my knee. For a year, I didn't have this fascination of opening up an anatomy book. And I know anatomy quite dare I say, quite well. And you can always learn more. But I actually didn't want to look at a knee joint. I truly didn't, until it got to Saturday and I started. truly, I was wondering how I would go. I was like, oh gosh, I'm just going to have to use my and hope that they're good, because I truly didn't want to know about it. Yes, absolutely. But what was interesting was then when I was doing a workshop over the weekend, this lady does know me quite well, but we worked on rotation of the knee and accessing that. And that really opened me up to going, oh, I want to find out about my knee again. So I actually just started playing with it over the weekend. So that's a very personal, experience. But yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
I was just going to share about my knee and ask a question. I tore my medial meniscus just doing like rotational movement, climbing with all my weight on it. And I had, so I'm kind of understanding it from the anatomy stuff like that. Bones, I had a bucket handle too, so the medial meniscus tore and then flipped over, and then was in that little groove. The patella's meant to run, so it actually I couldn't straighten my leg until they did surgery.
Yeah.
And I think I've lost half the meniscus on my medial side. But I wonder because, like in surgery, the ligamental stuff with the meniscus, they just, that's it for now. And hopefully the knee doesn't wear out. But in terms of, if that meniscus compressed more and you've got more maybe medial rotation pressure going through there without the padding, it's going to change things. But is that muscle the sartorius?
Sartorius muscle, the Taylor's muscle.
Yeah, that seems to connect into that area.
It does. The pesanteron is the fancy word for that, with the gracilis muscle. So the sartorius muscle. I think though what mostly is affected, if there I go there, is the vastus, the VMO muscle. Is that where are you?
Well, I don't experience much. Just on that medial side of the patella.
Yeah,
it's a little bit puffy there. And it does, like you're saying, that it's a name for the, I get clicking and little noises, and sometimes it feels a bit off. But I don't know. It's just interesting how this joint has been used so much, and then I've modified a bit how I do things, but yeah.
But isn't it great how we can modify to do things? And the answers in anatomy and all like the functional stuff as well, the dynamics of how all the joints play together. People don't understand that. They truly don't. Like I did do a presentation quite in depth about the function of the knee probably about 6 years ago. And, they had all this knowledge looking at dead divers, non-weight bearing, and having a look at how the knee functions that way. And then what they did is then they had a look at the knee under load and found it operated differently in terms of where the pressure is better. And then, lo and behold, they found out even more that, hang on a second, depending on the function pass, depends exactly on the where all the forces are going through the knee. So it's how good that we've got all that variability available to us. Yeah. All right. So I think we're now moving on to what I think is the most fun bit of this. Add some of this. Yeah, I can talk later.
Yeah. Okay. So who feels ready to move? No? Closer? Okay. Hola. Okay. So we're gonna do the last bit in this side of the room. Yeah, the end of the room. So please walk into the other room, and when you walk in, just start to observing how you walk in.
we are trying to integrate all the things that Angela and Beck and Ruth they share with us. To find a spot, it's not a big, but we can all fit in here. And let's explore a little bit. What's your perception about your mood? So we don't want only one person in the middle. Just find your space. Be aware. You need a space around you a little bit, maybe. Behind you, probably you need a space too. In front of you. By the side. Sylvia's got a space around her. Cool. And close your eyes for a moment. If you feel stable there, you can always open your eyes. Have a little moment with yourself, integrating all the things that you've been saying around the knee, about feelings, the sensations. How is your own understanding about your mood? And Ruth was saying it's connected with more parts of the body. So if you feel in your feet, underneath, you feel your pelvis and your shoulders and your head. See, where are you sitting? Where are you standing? Yeah, be aware of the others. Anna, you want to move here? You come? Thank you. So you can open your eyes now and play a little bit with this idea about shifting your weight to one foot to another foot. How you shifting your weight? We are all different. Which part of your foot? Are you pressing on the floor? What happened with the rest of yourself? How is it breathing? You thinking on land? Sorry. So when you shift in your weight, for example, say to the left foot, see if you'll be able to lift the other foot up. And like Angela was sharing with us before, and exploring, keep your weight in the opposite for a moment, and exploring the freedom on the knee. How is the freedom on the knee for you? And swing this leg. Feel the freedom in that joint. You need to make a big kick, or kick a little bit. What happened with the rest of the cell? Stop in the middle. You can make a sound if you want, whatever. And switch into the other foot and feel the other knee. See if it feels different or similar. What do you do with your hands, door, with your head? And come back to the center. And be aware of the others around the room, because now I want to walk through one or two steps forward. But before you're doing that, shifting your weight to one foot. Feel the importance on having the knee free into the other leg before you do the step forward. Then go. So when you're shifting your weight to the other foot is. And now, how are you going to come back? Be aware of the other, of yourself. What is your center of gravity? How are you moving? So this is one of the possibilities that we have. Going forward, going back, right? You're doing all day long. So imagining or feeling, when you're going forward, which part of your foot is touching first the floor? Feeling. And when you're coming back, which part the foot is touching the floor. Are you breathing? Why are you looking? Keep your eyes open, down. So this is one of the possibilities. Forward, backwards, you walk with more or less. And the other possibility that we have is going side. So when you stay in the middle next time, grounding in one foot, and let this knee free again, and just explore what is going in one side. And shifting your weight. You see, the other knee is free now. So that's what we're looking for. Grounding with one, you have the freedom of the other knee. And I don't want to demonstrate because I think everybody's different and we all find different ways to explore the freedom on the knee. We can do the clock, like motion. But we can. So having this in your attention now, that we three possibilities going forward, going back, side, side. Okay, let's divide in two groups now. One group here and one group here. Equally numbers. Just for me to walk, you know. Getting close, a little bit closer. You don't need to be in one line. It can be one line and another line in the back. Having more space. So yeah, let's make, yeah. Who wants to be at the front line? So we're gonna call, I was thinking I have to name these two groups. I'm not gonna say in this group on the right. I discuss with my group, I'm gonna call it extensors and flexors. Not because you need to think about it, because we've been doing flexors and extensors the whole week and I got so sick of their names. And I think I'm gonna put it really loud today, extensors and flexors. So let's explore, we don't think about which extensors or flexors are what, it's not about that, just a name, okay, so get over that. Let's do the same exploration. Now you've got someone in front. So close your eyes. Just be aware of this person in front. Be aware of the person behind you. You know, we did before, we have a space forward, and backwards, and out. So we need to keep that space. Cool. Let's have one only exploration with your eyes closed, shifting your weight to one side. And you can lift the other leg and see if it's free underneath and freedom underneath. And go to the other side. And keep doing it. Open your eyes. You keep doing this, not stopping. Feeling how is your eyes open, how is your eyes? How is now when you have a person in front of you, a group of people in front of you, which is you all the time when you're waiting for the train or going shopping? How you feel around people? Well, we're not doing this. We're not doing this on the train, but you can. And let's say let's stay in the middle in one side, and the flexor group go a little bit forward. More? Close? Okay. So let's say the flexor, we are going to integrate a little bit what we, so the flexor group is going to go 2 steps backward, and the extensor group is going to go 2 steps forward. Okay? I'm going to try to do it together. Timing. That's another element. Oh my God. You can be playful. Go a little bit more forward and backwards with the same fundamental principle. The freedom on the knee. You can try different ways. You can try different speeds. And you can laugh, of course. Don't be serious. This is really silly for me. You've got fun? You haven't got fun. That's a good point. Think about it. Okay, one more time. Let's do it one more time. And let's get back to the same lines that we did before. So now you have a partner without thinking of. We all have a partner. So let's explore one more thing before we get to this fun. Exploring what is going, say again? It's gonna get even fun. You're gonna do with your eyes closed? No. No, we did that. So thinking about going side to side. Okay? So you've got a person. Let's make 2 lines, 2 clear lines here so people can be, going forward and backwards. No, thanks. Look, they open. Thinking about shifting your weight to one foot and having that the knee, and how you're preparing your weight, which part of your foot is getting flow first, and you've got a freedom. And yeah, pause in the middle and look. So imagine you've got a mirror in front of you, so you be in tune with the person that you have in front. And it is no verbal communication. See if you can get to that point of conversation, the relationship, when you're not talking, but you're listening to each other. So if the person in front of you going too fast, we only go side to side, side to side. I've got a reason for why we're going only side to side. But in so many ways, so you have to put your own style. And you can look at the person into the eye. Let's do one more thing. Don't look on your feet. Just keep in your horizon. Sorry, that's my Spanish. And try the last thing when you go side to side. Try facing ground as you're coming back. Caressing the ground as you're coming back. So as you're going and as you're coming, caressing the ground, so cleaning the ground. Breathing. How is your breathing? How is your conversation with others? Getting too much fun, I think. Yeah. So that's, anybody guess what we've been doing? If we put all these things together, let's put everything together, okay? Let's go. Let's say, no samba, but kind of. Let's put these things together. So the flexors, they're going backwards, extensors going forward, and let's say the extensors, or see which knee is free to move to the side. No, you find out. When you're going forward and backwards, you realize which one. Go. 1, 2, and then one side, and then you can come back. Yeah. Kind of. So, I think we're ready. We're ready in this room for that. Does anybody guess what we've been doing, where I'm coming from? Tango. We did a walking tango. That's what we did. And, if you really want to be a dancer, be more. say now. We're getting there. But if I say that, it's free. That's what we did in a step. And the person that is working really well, been working for 6 months, but we actually into steps, into other steps. And it's not about to follow, that's the way that she's moving. It's about creating a system with one person. So, are you seeing me? I know the steps. Yes, so you just put them away. You know this one. Yeah, the very cool. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna be we got rules in tango. So women we have to follow men. Sorry about that. We can be we're gonna the extensor, we're gonna be women group, and the flexor is gonna be a men. That's good for you. That's easy for you. And what I want to say with this is we have to follow because we're creating a system together. So now we're going to do everything and we're going to create a system. So the lady places the hand somewhere here in between the shoulder and the elbow and the man somewhere in the waist. So this hand on the waist is not about pushing or pulling, it's just a pointer. And the other hand, we call it hook. This space here that we create is called the hub, okay? And it's a relationship here. It's where the dance is happening. You can see, you can look each other, you can look somewhere. But whatever you do, remember the freedom on your knee. Okay, that's the principle today, the fundamental. Follow the other person and no verbal communication. She's not gonna say to me, I'm gonna go backwards with my leg. Okay. No, I have to go right with. No, that's what we did a little bit of exploration, going forward, backward, side. That's the way that we can do it. Okay? So she's gonna guide me a little bit, and I see if I can follow that. Woo! So we thanks because we want to show too much. But be creative, right? I'm going to put a bit of music here just to get more inspiration. But it's, listen, I'm doing this in a Feldenkrais training, so it's not wrong here. And really thinking, good? So thinking about this, if you need one another important in tango. We're moving. So imagine the band here playing alive, the musicians. It's stable. So people sitting here when they're waiting for dance, and in between, in the middle, it's a sacred space when people dancing. So if your people is dancing and you want to step in, you need to know where they got to. So you need to have a special awareness. Special awareness? Yeah. So, yeah, not saying, I'm coming, I'm moving there. No, you need to be aware. Okay? Well, you see, if everybody's going into the, you go, okay, I need to move around. So, yeah. You was asking directly now. Okay, look, there is a clock. We can put it, no, I'm joking. Yeah, so you going, we're gonna move in this direction, right? Don't thinking too much, don't thinking, no, we don't get in there, but no, just remember it's the freedom of the knee, having fun, listening each other. They wanna go for it. Please, stop for a moment. We need to create a circle. So let's go in a circle. Little bit of circle. The middle space has to be empty. And before you start, so hands going like this. So I am who are you? Flexor or extensor?
Extensor.
Okay, so you put your hand here. Yeah. Okay, and this has to be a little bit stable here. So you can push a little bit. Cool. So before you start, you already start. Listen, please. Imagine this is a sacred space. Milonga. So this is a milonga place. And with these two hands, you have to be a little bit stable. So you have to push a little bit, not too much, but just you have to maintain that kind of space. Okay? And please listen before we start. Don't talk. Don't talk. Just listen each other. Feel your feet. Close your eyes for a moment. Have that Argentinian. Voy a hablar en español. I'm going to speak it in Spanish now. With the music, that was a good start. And go. Be aware of the others around you. You want to dance, Nori? We didn't. Just talk to you with your body. Talk with your body. That's why. So, how you going? You going good? Good. So let's do last thing is swapping roles. Swap roles. Okay? So now is your chance. And try different things that you haven't tried yet, which is no talking, for example. Changing speed, using the whole of the room. Don't pause in one place because people is circulating. Okay? We changing roles, so the sensors are guiding the flexors. We trying to not talk, and we're trying to be out. Yeah, it's too hard. We can talk, but not saying too much. And look, try and think, right? If you go slow, you really know what you're doing, and you really know what the other person is doing. But if you go fast, you miss the opportunity to listen yourself first and listen the other person, okay? So the music can be really fast, but I choose slow music today. and position. So now you are the extension. So you're guiding. You're guiding now. See if you can work out. Yeah, why not? Just for today. So you're guiding. Your hand has to go here on the waist. And before you start to move, she's guiding you. So you just don't move. Okay? And you listen yourself first before you move. Just listen your body. Listen where you're standing up. Have your eyes closed. See what the other person is. And it's not in a rush. It's about listening. And try different things. Did you notice if you're guiding? Or the person that was guiding you before is still guiding you now? So when you go slow, you go more detailed. So like that. Look, you hold hands like this. Oh, you can be like this, but not going into head space too much. And don't look what your feet are doing. Just don't look on your feet. Just feeling. Bean, you need to be aware of others. They have eyes. Okay, I think that was the end. Well done. So it's a lot of things. So some people, even in the middle of chaos, they both eyes closed, trusting. You know, both of them. It was like, wow. Okay, that's the level. Focus. You really have to know what you're doing. If you have your eyes closed, you can't go fast. So you have to slow down. That was a good strategy or tactic. But I know how to dance tango, but I don't know how to teach. So I think everybody has different styles, and that is a beautiful expression of yourself. And integration of the knee. I think we finished.